Heatherlie Quarry is approximately 13.5 kilometres north from Hall's Gap along the Mount Zero Road. It's at the base of the Mount Difficult range on the eastern side. I suggest you get ready for some dust because for a large part it's a gravel road. And I also suggest you keep your eyes out for the car park because it's located on the left-hand side and would be reasonably easy to drive past if you weren't paying attention. Now, the whole quarry site is well worth a look. If you've got a bit of a green thumb though, probably springtime is for you because there are plenty of native bushes and wildflowers out and about. It's quite an easy walk along a well-formed track to the quarry. It's about 2.5 kilometres round trip if you wanted to make sure you saw everything. And I'd say it's recommended for pretty well all ages. It's even people in wheelchairs can get to a fair portion of it, enough so that they'd feel like they'd seen quite a bit. There are some climbing bits which are just a few stairs and so forth, which might make it a little bit hard in some spots, but by and large it's an extremely easy site to get around. Part way up the track, when you're first going, it's all uphill on the first bit, just a nice gentle slope. But just when you feel like you want to have a stop, there's an excellent information board which displays everything about the site, the history and so forth. And it's good to have a little rest there, and there's even a little seat where you can have a sit if you so feel. The quarry site was actually discovered by a bloke when he was out on a hunting trip. Francis Watkins. He was a stonemason from Storwell, and he was also obviously a bit of an entrepreneur. He could see it was a top quality product, an extremely durable stone, and he had a few ideas what he was going to do with it. The quarry has a sheer face littered with, partly extracted blocks and parts of stone. There are plenty of examples of the traditional wedge and feather technique used for splitting the blocks. And there's even a few boreholes amongst all the scattered rock. They look more like sort of actually dirty ponds, but they're there. I don't know where else people would be able to see such a complete and authentic location depicting quarrying methods for cut stone anywhere. Although a large amount of the plant and equipment was taken to be used in other places, the site still has a littering of many examples of what was used at the time. For example, there's the steam engine, winch and winch gears, steel hoppers, explosives magazine, stone chimney, furnace, a steam chamber, compression chamber. There's the rail tracks and the rail trolleys. And there's also the siding. You can see where the rails used to run, which depict where the cranes would have winched the rocks onto the locomotives so that they could then haul them out of there. The quarry provided the first really durable freestone, which is a type of sandstone that was discovered in Victoria. And experts all agree that this site provides one of the strongest and most durable freestones ever discovered in the world. When first mined, the stone was initially used for rebuilding after a fire in the main street of Storwell. And then after that it was mainly headstones and things like that it got used for. Surplus and rejected stone was also used in the police quarters and a railway shed in Storwell. But probably the most recognised building that used the stone was Parliament House in Melbourne. And apparently there was some controversy over the choice of stone, whether to choose local or imported product. And you know the usual stigma of assuming if it has more stature, if it's important. Well, fortunately in this instance, the local product won out. Other notable uses of the stone included, in Storwell there was the courthouse, a shire hall, Anglican church, the Town Hall, and St Patrick's Roman Catholic Church. And then when you get to Melbourne, there was the General Post Office, the Port Authority building, Bank of New South Wales, Supreme Court, Town Hall, that's Melbourne Town Hall, State Savings Bank Head Office, Taxation Office, Newspaper House, Regent Theatre, Melbourne City Square, and the ANZ Bank Head Office, just to name a few. There are 3 stone huts remaining at the actual quarry site. At the peak period of production at the quarry, over 100 men were employed, and they lived in very crude huts nearby to the quarry itself. And a new township was decided to be made, and called Heatherlie, of course. The whole site was surveyed, and many of the workers who had first lived in tents started building houses, mostly just made from bark and fairly ramshackle, but a couple were substantial, real type houses. A site for a state school was gazetted, and a school building was even bought in to accommodate the 30 or so kids that lived in the camp. But as luck would have it, less than a year after the school arrived, the Public Works Department came to a halt, contracts were no longer issued, and the quarry was closed. Now, just a small tip, when you're walking through the site, don't be conned by a sign that says township this way, because there is no town. It's a very nice walk down the track, and I suggest you go down for a look, but the school was removed and the houses have since disappeared. All that remains when you get to the bottom of the track is a signpost saying Watkins Street, and it points to a track that obviously was once the main street. I also suggest, if you're going to go down there, get hold of a copy of the actual town layout, and when you're standing there you can then have a bit of an idea of how the town was going to be and where things might have laid. It's still very much worth the trip down there though, so enjoy the walk. Please be aware that paths and features at the site are by a large part maintained by volunteers who do an absolutely excellent job, but the bush is merciless with its regrowth, and some of the paths become a little overgrown at times. I think this simply adds to the charm and originality of the place. But I just urge you to keep in mind to tread lightly and appreciate the place.